They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that college promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful. Friends, we are on a high note right now. If you just did the meditation with us, you're like rolling through with that. So that's awesome. And tonight, Rogueways is always lucky to have with us yet another gifted human connected to messages of source and love, who has developed a skill for translating those messages into ways we can understand and utilize to transmute our elements into their most crystallized versions. Emily Atwood, thank you so much for bringing your gifts to share with us. To all the Rogue Warriors out there, once again, your work is fantastic, and we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yay! Well, I did just mention it on the meditation that we just did, but I want to mention it again for people who are just going to watch this show and not do the meditation, and for anyone else who might be listening, that I have amazingly exciting news that I have been invited to join the Rockfin Network, and Rockfin is so cool. I am so honored, and I was so excited because I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I knew that more and more people were sort of going over there and starting their shows there and doing these things. And what's super cool about it that I love and appreciate so much as someone who loves many podcasts and doesn't really have enough money to subscribe to every single podcast I love is that Rockfin puts all of those into one basket for you. So you pay one subscription fee and you get all the content you want. You can listen to hundreds of thousands of hours, if you have time, of all the different podcasts you love on Rockfin for one fee. So I think it's awesome from like a consumer perspective, from you guys out there listening who love these podcasts. This is the best deal you can get. It's there's people in the chat saying they love Rockfin. A lot of people in the chat said they're already in Rockfin. I love that. If you're already there, go check out and subscribe. I'm at rockfin.com/rogueways. And I love it because I get to get out to another chunk of people who maybe haven't heard it. And I also have the opportunity now to do this new show that I've been wanting to do that is very Rogue Ways-y, but is even more specifically focused on the spiritual path that all of us are on, you know, on the pitfalls and trials and tribulations up to the peaks and the, you know, successes and the fantastic growth spurts and the methods, you know, the practices, the philosophy, all the many paths that can take you there. Very syncretic approach and, you know, getting down into it. And so I'm super excited to start that. That show is called Middle Path. As you know, as a Rogue Warrior and as someone who loves Rogue Ways, Middle Path is my thing. That is my way. That's what I claim for myself. It's not mine. It belongs to the whole universe. There's many people who love it and say it and follow it, but that is something that is near and dear and true to my heart, and it is my path. So I'm very excited for Middle Path. It's going to be such a cool show, and you're only going to get it on Rockfin, but otherwise, everything else is staying the same. Rogueways is still here. Rogue.locals.com is still the place to be. Nothing changes with those. You still get exclusive content on Locals that you won't get anywhere else, not even on Rockfin. So you still get that community that you get to interact with and hang with and all the content that's extra that comes with it. Rockfin is just a totally additional thing that I'm doing, and that show is going to launch next week is my plan. So hopefully you all get to be there for the christening of Middle Path, and I hope to see as many of you there as possible. So go to Rockfin, grab your subscription if you don't have it already, and subscribe to Rogueways. All right, I'll stop talking about it now. Super exciting. I just wanted you all to know that this is happening, and it's very, very exciting. But Emily, sorry to make you sit through all of that. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, that was awesome. That sounds so exciting.
Thank you. Yes, I was very honored to be invited because there's some pretty rad people that over there already. So I'm in the company of greats.
Well, congratulations. That's really cool.
Thank you so much. The pointless question of the episode today that I was going to ask you is, what's your favorite vegetable and why? Bring it down to the earth.
You know what's funny is, I mean, I suppose it changes, right? But right now I'm really into broccoli.
I knew you were gonna say that. It was in my brain.
I don't really have a why. I'm just into it. Maybe I just like eating little trees right now.
I
I don't know
love
that I have a why,
I love
but
wondering if those things are coming because I did this with grapes over the summer where I just like wanted grapes all the time and I've never wanted grapes so much. But I was like, I wonder if there's something in grapes that my body really needs right now and it knows it. Right?
I think yes, I do think that happens. I had a recent thing, this is not a vegetable, but I had a recent thing where I kept craving salt, and like I was like, God, why do I want every salty snack there is? And I finally was like, oh, that's like an actual, that's an actual thing. Like I'm need salt for the dehydration and whatever. So I was like, I started looking for salt supplements and that kind of thing for like chronically dehydrated. And I drink tons of water, but like the salt piece, I really only drink water. So like any of those electrolytes and stuff, I maybe just wasn't getting. Yeah.
Especially if you're drinking filtered water.
Right. I am too. So it was anyway, so I think, sometimes those weird cravings you got to pay attention to them.
Yeah. I hope everyone takes that to heart if they haven't thought of it already, that like our body knows what it is doing. Yeah. And it's going to tell us.
So. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't actually stopped to think about why broccoli right now, but
yeah, I wonder if there's like a little key in there. Your body's like, I need that right now.
Look up which vitamins I might be missing if I'm craving broccoli.
Well, Emily, you've been here. Is this your fourth time?
Third
time. Okay.
Third time.
So you've been here.
But I also feel like it's been long. This is starting to feel like a regular little homey community.
Yeah. Yes, and we do have the greatest community. It's so awesome, and so I know everyone here tonight is super excited to see you. But I know there's also new people here who I've never seen before that I'm very excited to see. So I do want to just share with people. You know, you've been on before, and you do this ancestral trauma usually, right? There's not usually the good stuff that we need to clear.
There's usually a trauma thing.
And you kind of clear that and unlock it for us, and it's so fascinating to watch and be a part of. And I also know there's a lot of people who are seeing this who were, part of the unlocking in previous episodes who could attest to like feeling that release and the things that have transformed afterwards. So if you're in the chat and you experience that, go ahead and give us a few messages about it so other people can read. And then Emily, maybe you can just tell us sort of an overview of sort of what you do and why you do it or how you do it or anything you want to share with people so they can get a handle on it if they haven't seen you before.
Yeah, that is a good idea. So I will do my best on that. So the short version is that at some point I realized that I was carrying a lot of trauma and pain that wasn't mine. And so I began digging into where that was coming from, which took me into first a lot of sort of ancestral kind of traumas and looking back. I mean, I started with just looking at my grandparents and, I'm familiar with their traumas. So I was able to like see sort of how some of that translated into my life. And then to be able to see how stuff that I went through as a child was translating into my children's life. I have 3 kids. So, and there's nothing like having kids to help you really see all your stuff that you don't want to look at maybe because they really shove it in your face. But yeah, so I started off by looking at ancestral stuff, and then it started just going farther and farther back. And I did a lot of work too with even the earth and treating earth as I will when I do earth work, I treat Mother Earth as a being. So I would, and this is not an unusual, concept at all, but like working with her chakra system and that kind of stuff. But I clear traumas just like I would from any other person. And I go back and look for where those things happened. And so I would work with like the trauma of Mother Earth trying to start life, and when that failed and how that would have felt for her. And so I did a lot of that kind of stuff. And ultimately, what I started to realize was that I was doing all this work and some things still weren't changing. And so that is where, and I'd always been interested in past lives and kind of a believer in that concept, even before getting into it in any spiritual way. And so it wasn't a huge leap for me to start working with past lives. So that is what I did. And I started to realize that the reason I didn't remember certain things that were traumatic were because they didn't actually happen to me as I exist today, but were in past life experiences that were caught in my energy field, in my body, in my soul, in, you know, all these different layers of being that I was carrying around. So that is kind of how I started doing that sort of work. What I work with specifically is emotions. So I am targeting the emotion, and I'm targeting the thought process that goes along with the emotion. Because what I realized was that you can, so there's a lot of magic in just knowing how we feel and being able to identify this is what I'm feeling in this moment and this is why. Usually we don't do it very well in the moment. It's usually later, but to be able to, after something that like leaves you that with that sort of shaky, weird, awkward feeling, and you feel like maybe a little shame about an interaction or something that just doesn't sit right after you've, you know, had a confrontation with someone or whatever. Even if just like someone in the grocery store sets you off, I will take that and look at like, okay, wait, so what was it that really triggered me or hooked me about that situation? So anyway, I'm kind of always looking for that sort of thing. And I look for the emotions because that seems to be well, at least it's the piece I can release. And it seems to be that when we can clear the emotion away from things, we can start to create something new. So the law of attraction generally works on how we feel about something. So when people say, if you want to create money, imagine looking at a check for $1 million and, you know, get in the moment to how that feels. So it really is about how we feel about something. But if you're imagining looking at this $1 million check and you're like, oh yeah, that would be so great. And then there's some level of, I don't deserve that still underlies it. You're, you know, undermining yourself all the time by that. So that is my goal, is to get rid of all the ways that we're undermining ourselves so that we can move forward. Yeah. It's always about moving forward.
It really is. And it's so awesome because the methods you're describing are exactly what a licensed like psychotherapist would be doing with you right now if you were sitting with them working on your present life. And most of them, I'd say, are limited to your present life because that's what they're that's their shtick. That's what they're doing, which is rad. Right. It's totally rad. It's exactly what it should be. But like, yeah, what do you do with this stuff that's even before then and past? And especially if you don't even know it's there, which most people I think were sitting in that position. Exactly. You know, you like you said, you target the thought process and the emotion, and if you can do that, just identifying it and knowing it exists is like 90% of the work that you do in therapy. And it sounds crazy to people because they're like, well, I know how I think and what I feel. And like you said, you might not. Like most people, I would say, don't. I didn't. And I was shocked. I thought I was so good at emotion. I was like, yeah, I've been in counseling my whole life. I know emotion so well. I had no idea how I felt about anything. And it blew my mind, you know? So you really might not, but so it's a beautiful thing, you know, you're providing this like, you know, past life, ancestral trauma, psychotherapy, basically. And it's really, really cool. So I know people can like
be careful about that.
Yeah, sorry.
But I mean, because I'm not trained there.
Right.
But that is very much what it's like.
It's very
So,
similar at the least.
yeah, it's very much what it's like. I don't advise. I don't talk about the future. And that actually, the reason I don't talk about the future is because everything I'm doing all day long is to change the future. So if somebody comes to me with like, should I take this job or shouldn't I? I'm going to say, well, let's clear the emotional blockages around your decision-making process so that you can move forward to the best possible thing. Because as we're doing that, we may shift and change the attraction to one job or the other. So if you've got, anyway, I think
I totally.
Me, but
this, in tarot reading, it's very similar. Where the whole reading is basically helping people identify their very subtle patterns, thought processes, and emotions, and relationships, and how these things all interact. And it's like pointing out, well, if you stay on this path, it might go that way. And if you're able to acknowledge all of this and work with it, you've already changed the future, because now you're going to head over that way. And it's really. So it's the same sort of thing. I'm like, well, it's not like telling you the future, but it's definitely indicating it. But it's more importantly, like you said, it's helping you clear right here, right now, so that the future rolls exactly in the direction it's like supposed to, maybe you could say.
Right. And sometimes, that is kind of another thing that I'll do for people is like manifestation counseling almost. And it's, I want a new job. Okay, well, let's clear all the stuff that's in the way of that.
Yeah.
Let's help you identify this kind of job is what I want. This kind is what I don't want. And then we kind of clear around all of that stuff to make them path open. And there's a funny story about that, actually, that I went, gosh, it's almost like 6 years ago now. But my husband had this job that was just totally dead end, and he was miserable. He was treated badly, like just yuck. And so I started doing all this work, like tons of it, about how I have the perfect job for me, the perfect job has appeared, like just a whole bunch of perfect job stuff. And he ended up getting an amazing job, the job he wanted. And I also got a job that I was not looking for.
How cool.
At my kid's school, and it fell in my lap. I worked directly under the principal and like did kind of odd jobs around the school and supported her and the school in general. But
wow,
it was like, I mean, do you know, because you have school background stuff, like the list of moms that would like to come work in a school.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't easy to get your foot in the door there. And it just was like, here you go. Wow. So I did that for a couple of years in addition to all this. And then this really started to take off. But
that's so cool. And it's like that sort of instant karma, right? But we usually say that in a bad way, like when,
Usually,
but that was a good way.
Usually a negative thing. Well, we started within a week or 2 weeks of each other in the new jobs. It was super weird.
That's so cool. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. And it just goes to show you too, like you point out, every time you're with us that, as you're sort of pulling the threads and like suddenly huge things will sort of, unknot and collapse. Sure. And everything becomes clear. And it's like, you don't know necessarily how many of them are connected to you. Obviously, in a way, all of them are, or else we wouldn't be here together doing this. So that's really cool too.
That's true.
Well, last show we ended with an intention mantra that we had. And I wonder how many people remember it and have been using it. But do you want to bring that up and address it a bit?
Yeah, actually, I would, because I think this is where we're going to start. So we can start with this, do a little clearing around this. I can explain sort of the process as we go. And then if we want to open up to anybody who wants to jump in, we'll do sort of some community work here too.
Awesome.
Okay, so the affirmation that we kind of left off with last time was, in every way possible, I am focusing my intention on the one thing that completes me. And I have to say, when I went to go look this up, For some reason this year, Valentine's Day has been very, I think, more in our faces than usual. I don't know. I feel like I've noticed it more. Um, just I get a lot of emails talking about it, like as soon as it hit February. And I think it's probably from a sales perspective, just trying to keep people spending money right now, and the economy is not great. But um, what that made me think of when I went to look this up again is that Jerry Maguire, "You complete me" thing. So yeah, so I wondered. I felt like that kind of gives this another element of I don't know, just another piece of depth about that, because that starts to make me think that
Yeah.
there might be some weird love stuff tied up in that about how we need another person to complete us, even
Ooh.
though we were more thinking it was a purpose kind of
Yeah.
thing. But so I just am curious to see what we're going to find here.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And that is definitely, I think, an idea. Obviously, in our popular culture, we're told that, like, you have to find your other
Mhm.
half and you have to, like,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, instead of just, like, complete yourself, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not judging anyone or saying which way is best or whatever, but, like, I know it's always good to complete yourself anyway.
Right. Well, and I think there is a lot of emphasis on that, and people are looking for soulmates and twin flames, and there's all these different um, sort of soulmate theories out there. Um, and yeah, I mean, you really do have to kind of do the work on yourself first to start to really manifest the things you're after. So let's go ahead and clear this. So what I do when I set a new intention is that I will sort of clear the emotions and then the thought processes, of course, um, that are keeping that from being true. So whatever is sort of in the way of this statement being a true thing for us is what we're after right now. Because what I realized about the subconscious is that if there are emotional blocks, like for example, I don't deserve the money, then we're, we're doing that blocking um, of our desires, I suppose. So anyway, I'm just going to jump in. So first I'm going to look for an emotion. I use my body as sort of a pendulum as I'm doing this. So that's the like weird shaking head thing that I'm about to start doing. And that's, yeah, so that's all. So let's find our first emotion. Okay, sadness. Oh, and you know what? Normally I write everything, which helps me kind of stay focused. So, but it takes longer. So I'm going to not do that while we're
I'll
on the
try to
phone. I
take
forgot.
what I think might help.
All right, so now I'm looking for actually it's probably more like listening for the thought that goes along with this sadness. That I feel like I've been looking forever. Rejection of how hard I've been looking. Oh, there's more. And how empty I keep coming up, of how hard I've been looking and how empty I keep coming up. Heartache over the loneliness I've been dealt. Yeah. A rejection again. Rejecting the struggle I have been stuck with for all this time. All right, that's all I got there. Yeah, I feel like we're ready to open it up if there's anybody who's interested in
Awesome.
participating.
So if you guys in the chat, I can tell there's people here, but like it's acting sort of weird. But if you just give a comment if you want to have your ancestral trauma cleared or unlocked, then put your name in if you want to volunteer. I can also tell you some of the people here if you want to.
Well, we'll give them a
name.
minute and I'll mention that
Lori Wintz has already volunteered.
Lori Wintz popped up. Okay, cool.
Aw.
Yeah, we can start there.
I love you so much, Lori.
So I will also say that, yes, there's a lot of ancestral trauma and past life stuff that we do, but sometimes we might just go 5 years back, or we might go to age 7 or something else. So we'll just see where we go with, well, we'll see where we go with Lori first, I guess.
Okay, and we've got some more people too, so we're rolling.
All right, cool. Okay, for Lori, we can just go, we're just going to clear, we're not looking for a specific time, so currently, I think. Okay, defensiveness. Over my frustration with not being able to get what I want. Okay, crying. I always like to kind of talk about crying a little bit because crying is, you know, it's an act, really, not so much an emotion, but we work on crying from, usually I go 3 different angles. Sometimes I have to do like actual act of crying, and if there was, you know, somebody actually sitting around sobbing a lot or something, we can clear that too. But usually crying comes from a sense of helplessness or hopelessness, and sometimes petulance. So when we're kind of really stomping our feet and frustrated like a kid, kind of, which actually comes up more often than you would think.
Yeah, it was like a big theme on, I think, 2 of
I
the
think the
episodes.
last one,
yeah,
it was up a lot. I was like, man, we're a petulant group. Okay, this one is feeling hopeless. That I could break through to the end of my rope. Huh.
I get it. Lori gets it.
Okay. Anxiety, fearful. Sometimes anxiety shows up as anticipation also, but more often it's fearful. That there's no justice. Abandonment. Okay, feeling given up on. By the denial that I am always facing. Okay, that is all I'm getting there. Do we need to go to any other timelines or anything for Lori? I think we're finished with Lori for now.
Yay, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Let it all be unlocked. That was awesome. Lori, let us know if you have any feedback or anything you want to share. And then we have Not your Lindsay Smith, but the other Lindsay Smith.
Yeah, that is funny.
I know.
All right. Hi, Lindsay Smith. Okay, we're also going current here too. All right, so let's see. Okay, lack of control. Over the way of the world. Oh, I feel that one. Sadness. That I can't do anything to change my circumstances. Guilt. That I haven't done enough. Let's see, I haven't done enough to bring about change. Horror. Okay, so feeling horrified that change won't come unless I make it. Anger. That no one is here to help me. Rejection. Of the loneliness I feel in this moment. All right, I think that's all for Lindsay Smith. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, we got your back. You're not alone. We're all here with you. I understand that feeling immensely, though.
Yes.
Especially when you're looking out at, like, you know, what I think we all agree is the truth, or at least our view of the truth, you know, and you feel like, how do so many people miss this? Whether we're talking about the spiritual side or like the social side or whatever it is, right? And so it's
so true.
Lonely sometimes. And I don't know if that's what Lindsay Smith is experiencing, but that's what I was sort of, you know, projecting onto it as I was listening. I was like, I can relate to that. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Lindsay Smith, and let us know too. She says thank you. So did Lori.
Keep working towards that change.
Yes.
It's out there.
Yeah.
We're after it. All of us.
You're here doing it right now. Awesome. So we have Annette also. Who would like Annette? I don't know how to pronounce Annette, your last name, but it looks like Prejean or Prejean. I don't know. But it's Annette.
Okay. Actually, okay, this is a good point to talk about priority. So I do everything with by asking for maybe we should, okay, hold up. Let's talk first about where I'm getting my answers. So, and then I'm going to make a note so I remember that I'm trying to get back to priority as a point. But so I'm very familiar with my spirit guides, and I work with them a lot. I hear them sort of speak in my head, and it sounds like my voice, but I can just tell that the words aren't quite mine. And especially in the beginning when I started doing this, it felt really foreign sometimes to hear more affirmative thoughts than I was used to. So anyway, so I am working with my guides and your guides and our sort of collective guides at this moment, because we're really, this is almost like working on, remember how I said that I was doing, I would work on Mother Earth as a being? This is almost us working on the Rogue Ways community as an individual being. So when we start doing this, we're going through everybody that volunteers here, but this is like a collective group of us that we're working on here. So anyway, let's see. So we're working with the collective guides, my guides, and we're working with everybody's individual subconscious. So I'm listening for those subconscious thoughts, which, so my dad is a therapist. And when I was growing up, it was stinking thinking, right? Which is your negative self-talk. And that would be, so we're listening for the stinking thinking that's going on in our heads. So anyway, so that is, I felt like I needed to mention where that was kind of coming from. And I have really just sort of, it's just a skill that I have practiced a lot and been able to hone, being able to listen to all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so then when I do this work, let's say I have a new client, they might give me a page's worth of notes when we first start talking, because we don't know each other. They're going to say, all right, I got some stuff, you ready? And they're going to give me a bunch of stuff to work with. Well, obviously I'm not going to get through their whole lifetime, in this 1 hour or so that we've given ourselves. So what I do then is I work with priority. So I'll go through this list of stuff and I will muscle test to see where we go first. Because what I've found is that if you, and we talked about that, we touched on this a little, that if you pull the right chord, everything falls apart. And I actually had a session the other day that was so cool, because we started off and I felt like I really was struggling to get this woman on task, right? Like we were, but between both of us, we were like just kind of off and running, chatting about stuff, and all this stuff was coming up, and we're off topic and we're all over the place. And fun conversation, but I'm like trying to help us move along. By the end of it, no joke, even these weird random tangents that we went on came up in the stuff we were clearing. So, it's all kind of part of one thing. But here's where I'm going, is that Annette is not next. So do we have anybody else?
All right, we're keeping Annette on the list, but she's not next. We have Krista. We have Gordon.
Gordon.
Okay.
I get a yes from Gordon. Okay. Hi, Gordon. I think we've talked before.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, and then otherwise we had Krista, right? And Krista so far.
We have 3 more people too. Do you want me to say?
Okay. No, that's okay. We'll get there.
All right.
Okay, anxiety for Gordon. We're still working currently at the moment. Okay, this is anticipation. Of moving forward.
Yes. Gordon.
Like I'm always anticipating that.
It's funny because I know most of these people well enough that as you're doing this, I'm like, yep, get it. I get it.
That's good, because I don't really have that sense at all. But,
yeah.
But that's okay. Rejection. Of how hard I have to keep working. Despair. Oh, despairing that my future will be more of the same. Yeah. I think especially right now. Anger. That I just want everything to be different. Hatred of how stagnant everything feels. Okay, I think that's all for Gordon right now.
Nice job, Gordon.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because we did talk about purpose last time, and, you know, are still sort of after this one thing that completes us. But purpose really did kind of keep coming up. And, you know, I wouldn't be, it's not an easy one, so I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps coming up. But there were several people that I was working with that had been laid off, or, you know, restaurants closed, or various things like that. And what seemed to be the pattern that was coming up for me to notice was all these people who, when they sort of stopped the rush, were like, hold up, I never meant to be doing this my whole life. This isn't really what I want. But until I was forced to stop doing it for a minute, I didn't really even take the time to recognize that this isn't what I want. So that is sort of a theme. And I was thinking about that when we were clearing some of that stuff for Gordon, that it's a really good time for people to sort of reset and try something different.
It's a really good point. And it's not just like trying to paint things in a good light. It's just an actual positive side effect of some of this
For sure.
crap. Yeah.
It is. And I think for a lot of people, there's going to be people who are like, man, I'm going back to school. I'm not going to do this anymore. Or, hey, I never really, you know, this was like something I started doing in between something, and I never got to that other thing. So, you know, I hope people are doing that and making those shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can do a net now.
Oh, good.
Awesome. So,
and it's Préjean. Annette Préjean. I love.
Is very French, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Oui.
Oh, oui.
All right. Okay, anxiety. Oh, Annette, it's okay. She feels very anxious. Okay. I just feel like I needed to address that. This is all for the good of all of us here. And anyway, I don't want you to worry or not after anything.
And it's not like a judgment or like
or uncomfortable. Yeah. Anyway, I just suddenly felt that was going on. So anxiety. Fearful that I've made all the wrong choices. Anger. Oh, that I feel cursed. To do everything wrong. Okay. Cool. All right, let's clear a curse. So let's see where we have to go for that. Yeah, I
I'm so
know.
excited.
That's what I was thinking too.
There's
Annette,
someone
thank
else.
you.
There's someone else on our list who struggles with a curse, and I'm very excited for you to get to them too.
Oh, cool. Okay. I wasn't thinking we were going here. It's been a while since I did a curse. Okay. So a word about curses. So curses, they do come up. Sometimes there's like icky witchcraft stuff involved, but most often it's just bad blood or or somebody, you know, there's a lot of ways we can curse each other, even just by thinking, oh, she'll never change. Right? I mean, like if someone's thinking that enough about you, it can function as a curse that keeps you from, it blocks you from being able to make changes. So, so I definitely do clear curses. In fact, a little bit of what I do is all curses.
Yeah.
You're thinking of
It's
it
like
that way.
tangled knots of like giant, yeah, of all of these layers and layers of assumption and judgment and horror and pain
Exactly.
and just stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Anything that's blocking us can be working like a curse in that way. So this particular one, let's see what we got. Ooh, okay. We are going to a past life here. Okay. All right. So when I do past lives, I don't, I'm not doing any kind of regression or anything like that. We're after like path of least resistance, the easiest way to just get rid of the stuckness around it. So I start by finding the year we're heading for. We're always looking for the root of it. So sometimes because we're working in priority and we are sort of unraveling in an order, there sometimes we don't quite hit the root right away and it has to be later and we go further back. But everything kind of runs in a pattern. So it could be that there's 3 or 4 different past lifetimes in this particular pattern. I don't know this for sure. I'm just giving examples. I'm not trying to talk about Annette specifically in this case, but so the first thing I do is find what year we're after. This one is 773 BC. And then I look for who's here. So if we need to have Annette is here, obviously, but if there are other people in Annette's life that are also a part of this, we need to clear them out of it as well, because what it becomes is almost like a knot in a cord, and we have to get all those pieces out of it, right, to make it really let go. So, okay, so there's only 2 people here. So it's Annette and one other person, her father.
Father in that life or this life?
Her father in this life. And then we'll see. Usually what I do is I figure out gender and age of the people we're working on. And then usually I'll figure out the relationship between them, because that tends to help. Beyond that, unless it really flows out, and sometimes it does, with context and everything, we just kind of get snippets, whatever we need to know to move on, and then we move on. So Annette was a man, age 24. Okay, and her dad was a woman, age 18. Okay, and they were married. Okay. And then we'll also just mention that in past lives, we all take all kinds of weird forms in relationships and stuff. My husband has been my sister in so many lifetimes that I can't even count. And it's funny because my mom likes to talk about the first time that she met him, and she had come into my dorm room and we were sitting on the bed facing each other with like our knees all like bookendy and like girlfriends talking in the bed.
Yeah.
So anyway, she thought that was cute, but um anyway, all right, let's see. So now what I'm going to do first is find an emotion or a couple of, we'll see how many, but emotions that are shared by Annette and her dad in that past life. So that's the piece that sort of really unlocks it, because that's the part that's keeping them stuck together, is the part that they have in common. So we'll start there.
That makes sense.
So we have anxiety here. Okay, it's fearful that I'll never be free. Okay, that's all for both of them. So then we'll do Annette herself, which is actually Annette herself, but in the 700s BC. Anxiety. Anticipation. Of when I can break out of this restricting engagement. Oh, maybe they weren't quite married. Yeah, I'm feeling like this is an arranged marriage. So many of them were then. Okay, that's all there. And her dad. Anxiety. Anticipation. Of making you mine. Okay, we have to do another one for Annette from the past life still. Anxiety. Wow. Fearful that I can never do enough to satisfy you. Okay, we're jumping current. So now we're going to see, I'm going to see if I can get the sort of words of the curse, which is really just whatever the statement or belief that someone else, maybe in this case is her dad, that statement that they sort of hold tightly enough to be blocking her. So give me a second. Okay. No one will ever be able to get you to do anything right. So that seems to fit with curse to do everything wrong, which was the first thing we found. So I'm going to go ahead and clear any emotions that are around that, and that will be the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Grief is being given grief. Sometimes it's a grieving, but this time it's being given grief. For my every attempt to do something good. Crying. Petulant. Why can't anyone see how good I am? It's there. We see it. Okay, that's all I'm getting. Is there any more for Annette? Okay, I believe that is all for Annette today.
Wow, Annette. I'm very excited for Annette because I know that there is that anxiety there, and that I think so much of it is obviously attached to that and therefore clear. So I know people start to like sometimes feel these things instantly, and sometimes it plays out over a couple, like, like a little while.
Sure.
It starts to be like, oh my God, this is so different. Like, so I hope people get back to us, and I like to hear,
Yeah, me too.
feedback if it's there. So let us know. But otherwise, nice job.
Let's also talk for a sec, because it kind of came up there for a brief second, about how there's no judgment here.
Yeah.
And no judgment in any of this work, because I'm really I suppose people can judge you for how you feel, but it's not correct to do that. Feelings are just feelings, and we can't control them. And if we could, we'd all be, there'd be no depression in the world, and there'd be no fear, and everybody would be all blissfully, back in the Garden of Eden or some crap like that. It just is. Everybody feels stuff. You can't judge yourself for it, primarily, I guess, is where I want to go on that. And that's part of acknowledging how you feel. So a lot of times we don't want to acknowledge how we feel because of that judgment that we're placing on our feelings about it. So if we're feeling guilty or angry or whatever we're feeling about something, it's always, always, always better to stop and give yourself a minute to frickin' feel it. Just feel it. Allow yourself to feel it, because when it gets stuck, it's when you won't feel it. So I'm working with somebody right now who's struggling with a great deal of grief because her husband has just gotten a really lousy diagnosis. And what I'm seeing there is that she is ashamed of her guilt, or of her guilt. She feels guilt and shame about her grief. So she doesn't want people to see it. She is afraid to talk about it. She's afraid to let anybody see that she's upset about it. And boy, is that unhealthy, and gonna really be kind of dangerous for her in the long run. So hopefully she's going to get through that, and she's got a while to work through it, a good support system and all that, but
we have to
let ourselves feel stuff.
Yeah. And there's no shortcut, around it, and you can't just avoid it. It's just going to come back and come back and come back and come back. So you may as well just do the best you can to feel it, and then like move through it, not around it, not away from it.
Right. And don't deny it, and close it off, and close the doors and all that kind of stuff on it, because that's when we really do get stuck there. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Moving on to, I think we can do Krista now.
Ooh, okay.
Let's do Krista. Hi, Krista.
Hi, Krista.
Okay, crying. Oh, I forgot to even ask. Are we current? We're still current. We've got a lot of current stuff today.
Yeah, this is totally different. That every other time I think
Yeah.
we went like way back. So
Yeah. But we didn't get to do a curse before.
yeah, true.
Okay, this is feeling hopeless over my inability to breathe freely. Okay, now we're going back. Let's see.
That makes a lot of sense for many of us.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to go 4 generations back for Krista on Dad's side. Crying and feeling hopeless. That I'm left to doubt my every opportunity. Anger. That I keep waiting for the right opportunity to come along. Anger. That opportunity never knocks for me. Okay. I think that's all for Krista.
Krista, that opportunity is there. You can get it.
It's a good day to talk about that on new moon, Lunar New Year kind of day.
Yeah. And if you didn't do the meditation right before this, go do it right after this because
That's a good idea.
some powerful stuff. All right, we have Courtney, Aaron, Kylie, Ancient Diamonds, and Lacey.
Okay, Kylie is next.
Okay. That's funny because I already forgot who Kylie's mom is, but Kylie's mom is like, my daughter needs this. Her name is Kylie. And she's right.
All right, let's see. Okay, crying. Petulant. Oh, get me out of here. Three generations back on Mom's side. Discouragement. Huh. Over my, this is, okay, over, let me say it, hold on, too many things. Over my inability to break free. Whew, of what is hiding beneath the surface. Okay, and I wanted to point out, I'm not writing my normal notes, so I can't go back and refer to it exactly, but that's the second time over my inability has kind of come up. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to use that as an opportunity to point out how alike we all are and how much this is like working on just kind of one being. Yeah.
It's all analog. It's all just like looping. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, overjoy.
Like overjoyed?
Yeah, so overjoy is a funny one, and it doesn't come up all that often. I kind of like it though. Overjoy is like, okay, as an example, oh, I got this new job, but my boss sucks.
Okay.
So there's always like a but in there.
It's like a
So
bittersweet.
yeah. So it's because it does seem like, why are we having to clear over joy? I thought we were only looking for like really the negative stuff.
Yeah.
That's why, because there's like that little hook in the end.
You're like, this is a
All right.
good marshmallow. Ow, my face.
Right. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it's overjoy that I've been making progress, but there's always something pulling me back. Okay, this is sounding kind of cursy again.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go 2 generations back on mom now. Anxiety. Fearful that, boy. Oh, okay, that my story keeps getting darker. Sorry, my notebook got all stuck together. Okay, we have to go 3 generations back on Kylie, right? Kylie's dad's side. Anxiety. Fearful that the world is coming to an end for me. Anger. That I can't depend on anyone. Anger. That I have no support system in place if this goes south. I'm feeling bad business deal here, which is kind of what I felt like. It was money right off. Okay, 5 generations back on dad's side. Anxiety. Anticipation. Ooh, of when I can show the world my power. It's funny because that sounds kind of darkish, but isn't that really kind of what we all want?
Yeah.
Power is such a funny thing.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down because we want it, we need to embrace it and should use it more often, but it's got such negative darkness around it.
But yet we say, like, I'm empowered. I want to empower you. And it's like, so we do acknowledge, but not consciously, right? We don't even realize
Right.
power's in that word.
Right. Well, and that's where where sometimes we have to, okay, like the word grounded is a good example of this, where we want to be grounded. This is a healthy thing for our spiritual energy to be grounded. But in our brains, grounded also goes back to being in trouble. So there's, you know, a weird
Yeah.
thing in our brain that we maybe hear that word with a negative thing. And I'm not saying everybody, but like, especially if you have somebody who's having a really hard time being a grounded person. If that's the case, I often switch to centered, which I think works better without that sort of negative twist that hides in our
Of being like
subconscious about it.
trapped. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because grounded isn't really something we want to be. I was not grounded a lot as a kid, so I don't, I would say it's sort of still in there as a subconscious thing. But if there's somebody who's been, was grounded a ton as a child, like that, they might have a really hard time overcoming what it means to be grounded.
That's
So
a very
anyway,
good point.
I digress, but that is word magic, where things have multiple meanings and then we have to sort of work around that with our subconscious stuff.
Totally with you.
Okay, so crying. We're still in that 5 generations back, so crying. Okay, and it's petulant. Everyone thinks I'm weak. Oh, and it goes on. Everyone thinks I'm weak and I only want to be strong. Okay, we can do Kylie herself now. Anxiety. Okay, fearful that my story is full of examples of my failures. Period. Yes. Okay. Sorry, that's a funny thing I do sometimes when I'm trying to make sure I'm done. I'll go, okay, is there a period there yet? Okay. End of sentence. Okay, anger. Okay, that everyone sees me as a failure. Anger. That I can't seem to overcome this failure. Okay, that's everything, but we need to give Kylie a new affirmation or
Yeah.
thought processy kind of thing here. So let me see what I can come up with. Okay, the world sees me as successful and triumphant.
That's awesome.
I love the word triumphant.
Especially because, if you can't feel like, or you can't pretend like you didn't ever fail or something, but you can definitely acknowledge that you're here. And so you triumphed, right, over the failures. So they were part of the process. And now you have this. And I love that, because that's one of those things too about like manifestations and affirmations. And like you had talked about earlier, that you can't just like pretend it, or you can't just lie to yourself about it. But so like you have to like make one that you really believe it. If you're like, I love the money, I'm looking at the check, it feels so good, but something in your head's like, no you don't, you loser, you'll never have that. You're like, damn it. Like, so it's awesome to be able to phrase things in this way that is very positive and does not ignore your personal truth. And I love this. I love the world sees me as a success and as successful and not, or sorry, as successful and triumphant. What a beautiful, I'm going to type it in the chat in case Kylie just wants to copy and paste that somewhere and put it on your mirror and say it to yourself 25 times a day.
Yes. First, we're going to clear anything around that that's in the way of her believing that. So, okay. Abandonment. Okay.
I like feel that in my heart. It hurts.
Yeah. It's good. I've got like headache right here, which I often associate with self-abuse, beating yourself up and knocking yourself down. Okay, so giving up on being able to see myself as any sort of success. Anger. That success isn't for me. I think that's all. I think we need to do just a little, I'm just going to do a little sort of Reiki energy work around her heart, because it feels like that's where this is settled. Ooh, okay, we got a little expansion going there.
I felt that. That was awesome.
Okay.
Good job, Kylie.
Yeah, Kylie. Awesome. Go out into the world and be successful and triumphant.
Yes.
Have your back.
So cool.
All right.
All right. That was a big one. We've got, okay, we have Courtney, Aaron, Ancient Diamond, Lacey, and Leslie.
Ancient Diamond.
And if I missed any of you, please tell me that you would like to be on the list. Ancient Diamonds.
Okay. Ancient Diamonds. All right.
Sorry.
We'll get it right. Okay, we're still current. Anger, or I guess we're current again. Anger. And we get to go back to power. Okay, anger, that my power to see things clearly is fading. I want to write that one down. That's a good one. Okay, abandonment. Giving up. And being able to see what's really going on. This is how I feel every time I hear a news story.
Yeah.
Anger. That the circumstances surrounding my clarity seem to have changed. I think that's all. Oh my gosh. And how, okay, this is crazy that we just did Ancient Diamonds and we're talking about clarity.
Ooh, yeah.
That is pretty cool.
That's pretty rad.
I kind of love that.
That's pretty awesome. Your diamond is still beautiful, even if it has some little inclusions in it or whatever they call it.
Nobody can see that.
Yeah.
Shine bright.
Woo. You know, I was thinking about it too, because and again, I'm projecting, obviously, right, which is all I think many of us can ever do. But I was thinking about how, you know, I've gone through periods in my life where it's like my, whatever you want to call it, my spiritual side or my like empathy or, you know, all of these like sort of spiritual skills are feel like kind of faded. And I'm like, why isn't it like working anymore? Like what? And then I'll have times where it's like the faucet is ripped open and I'm like, and it's like sometimes there's nothing I can really pinpoint. I'm like, well, I was eating unhealthy and seeing better spiritually, and over here I'm like, you know. And so I think our souls know best, and I think there's reasons why we sometimes have like a little bit of a backing off and a little bit more of a deeper dive in. And I think that like to give ourselves some grace with that is really important, you know. And I remember on a different episode with a different spiritual worker, we had someone who was like, I always had the birds would always like be synchronous and they'd always bring me messages and I always knew, and now it never happens and I never see it. And I'm like, it's the same type of thing, right? Where like, but there's often like really good reasons, and sometimes you're like about to break through onto a totally new skill, and that's why the other skills sort of like back down a little so you could like get more used to that one before they reintegrate it all. And like there's just all kinds of stuff. So all of us who are in that sort of, and it can be like non-spiritual skills too, right? That could just be like any aspect of your life. And so I totally can relate to that feeling of like, where did it go, or why isn't it clear, all these things. But then also this idea that there can be a very, very good reason, and it very likely is, as everything seems to have a very good reason. And
For
that,
sure.
you know, it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I find that a lot of times when that happens, there's a timing thing involved. And sometimes something else just needs to happen in order for things to come clear. Mm-hmm. And in my world, sometimes it's a new client. And all of a sudden the new client brings in the piece that I've been like, why can't I get this?
Yeah.
And then there will be somebody new I talk to and I'm like, oh, now I see it all. So, you know, and that works just in general, where somebody comes back into your life, or, you know, something pops up. I think that timing has a lot to do with that. And
that makes a lot
I hate
of sense.
to say like we're not ready, but it's sort of something isn't ready.
It's like baking. It's like you're like, this thing has to go in at this time, or else like the whole thing doesn't really work.
Right. Well, and when we were talking about you got to pull the right thing to make it unravel, you maybe don't know that one thing yet because it hasn't quite happened. And if you give it enough time, it's gonna happen, and then you'll have things come back into focus. Anyway, I see that happen for myself. But it is frustrating when you feel all like, where did everything go?
Yeah.
And I also go through, I also go through bouts of that. So that is not unusual.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think everybody can relate on maybe various levels. But okay, so we have Courtney, Erin, Lacey, Leslie. I feel like I'm missing someone, so I just want to keep saying, if I didn't say your name and you want to be on this list, let me know.
All right. Leslie came up right away. So let's do Leslie. Anxiety. It's funny, we've been so much more current this time.
And lots of anxiety.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Especially currently.
Yeah.
Ooh, fearful that everyone sees through me. We're back on clarity stuff. Okay, anxiety. Oh, fearful that my self-doubt will overwhelm me. Abandonment. Giving up on ever feeling like I'm worthy. Oh, worthiness. Okay. That's all for Leslie, but Lacey was one, right? Lacey's coming to mind next.
Yes. But I also want to encourage Leslie to have an affirmation because I also really relate to that feeling like, especially when I started teaching, I was like, oh my God, why did anyone let me do this? Like, I'm a child. I can't teach children. I'm not even an adult. And I was like 29 or something, and this idea that like this fear that you're like not actually worthy, you can't actually do it, and everyone's gonna know, and like that imposter syndrome thing. I'm like literally the way I got through that, and I was an amazing teacher. Like even from when I started, I was just all in my head, it's all just stuff that we tell ourselves. And
Right.
but I had like affirmations that I used every morning, and I would literally stare myself in the face and I'd be like, I'm a badass teacher and I'm an adult. People take me seriously. And like all this, I got fake glasses to like make myself buy that I had somehow like become an adult in the meantime. I hate
And an
it.
intellectual at that.
Yes. So anyway, if any of those tricks, like they sound silly, but like they can actually really work. So if that helps, there you go.
So I jumped right into Lacey, but I think we're actually going to go back to Leslie, which
Oh, okay.
I didn't say out loud. I heard that was,
No problem.
sorry, communication in my brain. But I think we're going to actually pop back to Leslie. So, but there's something with Lacey that has to come first.
Okay.
Okay, so anxiety. Oh, that's why. Okay. Fearful that I'm a fraud.
Ah.
Full on imposter syndrome now. Okay, this is fun. We're going to go back to Leslie now. Sadness. That it's so hard for me to see how good I am. Okay, Lacey. This is more evidence of how we're all the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nervousness. That I need people to see me as stronger than I am. Okay, now we can do an affirmation for both of them and all of us and whoever needs it. So, power. My power shows itself to me and the whole world. Okay, and
Awesome.
another one.
Another affirmation.
Yeah, I don't want to lose it. I accept my worth as a part of me I can't deny.
Yeah.
Okay, those are good. All right,
Yes.
let's see. Okay, we're gonna start by clearing anything around I accept my worth as a part of me I can't deny. So anxiety, fearful, that I've seen my power be denied too often to believe in it. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all for that one. And we can do the second one. My power shows itself to me and the whole world. Anything in the way? Okay. Rejection. Of letting the whole world see anything. Anxiety. Fearful that I'm too mistrustful. To really embrace my power as real. There's something else here. Let's see. What else do we need? I think there's another affirmation. Okay, I am safe. That's it.
Yes.
Abandonment. Feeling given up on. By my insecurity. Okay, I think that's everything. Okay, I think I'm starting to feel like we're getting closer to where we're kind of wrapping up.
Yeah. We've got 2 people who are on the list. If we.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think we're quite done, but I'm feeling like we're
getting there.
Nearing it. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. I love some, Krista in the chat just said, who's Kylie's mother, was saying like, oh, I feel, like each one of these, I just like relate to them and I feel like this. And I was saying back to her, like, we're all connected here. And like you said, this is like a group session. And so we are all here for a reason and we're all connected to each of these. And so we definitely, I think, are all releasing some aspects of these, even if you're not directly working on like us in that moment.
Yep.
So I love it.
And I think it applies to anybody who's going to listen to this too. It's like we're tackling your whole community of listeners here, I think. So, and I'm sure some people miss some podcasts and some people tune in for everyone or however it's going to work out. But if anybody's hearing this at any point in time, they're connected in on this. So I don't know. That's a pretty cool piece to all this.
It's really cool. Every time I'm doing like work on myself or someone else with someone else, I'm very aware of and very grateful how this is rippling out in ways we'll never understand to like all kinds of people. And it's like so cool. So I love it. We've got Courtney / Glowing Aura, and we have Aaron Greer.
Aaron. Is it Aaron Aaron or
Erin?
Erin. Okay. So anxiety. Whoa. Fearful that the world is not my friend. Okay. We can work with that. Any more? Okay. All right, we're going back 4 generations back. on Aaron's dad's side. Okay, hang on. I have to look on my phone for a sec because.
And I have to say that to Aaron and anyone else, there's no way I could have arranged this ahead of time. But it's obviously, I don't know. I think Aaron will know what I mean. Aaron and I just did a tarot reading together recently, and I think you've already gone to the magical generation for some stuff.
It would take me too long. It would take me too long to go through my notes,
researched it
to figure out where it was. But I had something really similar to this come up in the last couple of days this about the world being my friend in some way. I will also say that a thing I have been working on is about, in my spare time, is about money. So I started with money is my best friend. And I started doing a bunch of work around money with affirmations that all could have been swapped out like with my best friend's name. So money supports me like no one else in my life.
Oh, cool.
Money is always there for me. And so just with that concept, and then I started doing that same thing on, let's see, I was going to do work, food, sugar was one that was on my list of things to do. So I had a handful of things that I was working through, just that were kind of like coming through on putting these concepts that we all struggle with in as friendly things instead of these things we've always been enemies with. So, I mean, for me, food was going to be a big one because since I was 10, I've always fought with food. Just in general, that like, and this is an example, you kind of touched on this too, about how we don't really know what we really think. So like, I would say I love food, but in reality, I hate food. I fight with food all the time. Everything I put in my mouth, I'm fighting with. And this is getting better as I work with it, but that's a thing. So I would like to think of food as my best friend that supports me and all that kind of thing. So anyway, I got sort of sidetracked, but that is thematic, I guess, to have this. So the world is your best friend.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed.
Well, and okay, I'll stop.
No, we can keep going, but 4 generations back from Aaron's dad. Anxiety. Okay, fearful that the harshness of the world keeps raking me over the coals. Abandonment, giving up on being able to see the world as a friendly place. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do an affirmation like this. So the world, okay, the world and I embrace as one.
The world and I embrace as one.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's a lot of ramifications around that. That's really cool. Okay, crying. Petulant. I could never be one with the world. Abandonment. Giving up on feeling like I'm a part of anything that is bigger than myself. Okay. Okay, I think that's all for Aaron. But I also think we're gonna end with the Rogueways community and do some work around, like, really open that up
Are we
to everybody. But there's one more person.
one more person if we want?
Courtney.
If we have time? Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Courtney.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like thinking that 2 steps
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I love that. Bring it back to the whole.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's exactly what we're gonna do at the end here. So Courtney. Okay, we're not current with Courtney. Let's see. Okay, 3 generations back on Courtney's mom's side. All right. Anxiety. Fearful that my history shows me that there is no way forward. Anxiety. Okay, fearful that all the ways forward feel like backwards. Man, sometimes that is so true.
I feel like that's kind of like maybe similar to what we were describing with how you feel like, why can't I do this anymore? And then, yeah.
Yeah.
Why am I moving backwards?
Anger. Okay, that I feel like all my directions are mixed up. Okay. Let's hold on. I'm kind of I'm zoning out here and trying to figure out where we're going. We're going to do directions. Let's do forward, backwards, right, left. Let's do, when I say do, I mean, let's clear around each of those as individual topics. So, let's see. Okay, backwards first. This is cool.
Yeah.
All right. So anxiety. Okay, fearful that everything I see looks backwards. Okay, and overjoy again for that. Overjoy. So like overjoyed that there is familiarity in going backwards, but no growth. Okay, then we can do forwards. Anxiety. Okay, anticipation of what will come next for me. Worry that I won't be able to handle what comes next. Okay, I think that's all. I feel strongly that we need to do right and left. Even though those are not usually directions we're trying to go, but yeah. Sometimes. Oh, but they are political divisions.
And sometimes people describe spiritual pathways in terms of right and left too.
Yep. Okay. Also, right being right and wrong.
True.
Okay, crying. I'm doing right first. Sorry. Okay, so petulant. I'm too off balance. Anxiety. Wait, no. Yes, anxiety. Sorry. Sometimes I mix that one up with anger. Okay. You know what? I don't even need to find it. Hang on. We're just going to clear a few. Okay, there's anger. I got crying, helplessness. Nervousness. Okay. All right, we can move on to left now. So that's a funny thing that once in a while comes up where I don't need to know the details on it. So like I said about how we're after sort of the path of least resistance, sometimes we don't need to know. Sadness. Oh, that I always feel left behind. Funny, that wasn't a left thing we thought of. Funny. And that's all I'm getting for left. Let's see. Are we ready? Okay, we're ready to do the Rogue Ways community.
Woo!
Yeah.
Such a great community. Like, I don't know many other chats that you can go into where people are this awesome and supportive and genuine and like, you know, we've had like 2 trolls ever and they like kind of like were like, huh? And like left. You know, they were like, huh? Like, that didn't work. Nobody responded. And when they did, it was like very nice. It's not what I was looking for, you know, and then they run away and we just had the best people. I love everybody.
I really think like supportive would have actually been the exact word I would have thrown out to from watching the chats and all that kind of stuff. This is a very supportive community.
It's pretty awesome. I try to tell people, I'm like, we're like a real community here.
Right. No, I mean, I think community is not a word used lightly on that. It's very sort of like you guys are very family. Oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anxiety. Okay, it's the world again. So fearful that the world at large needs me to be something I'm not.
The world needs you to be
It makes people
exactly
too.
who you are.
It makes me people uncomfortable. That's what it is when you're out there and openly spiritual and openly aware of things. It makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah. We have a huge societal problem there.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It's like not, I don't know, yeah. I could go on for hours.
Right. Nervousness. Okay, that my nervousness, it's nervousness that my spirituality won't measure up.
Your spirituality is exactly what it should be.
Cool. Our collective heart chakra.
Yeah.
Okay. Anger. That my spirit still has so far to go. Hey, we can't be finished.
We're still here.
Okay, that is actually all I'm getting. Do we get to do an affirmation? Yay! Let's do an affirmation too. All right, let me let this kind of unwind here. Okay, cool. Affirmation time. This is a good one. Okay, hold on. All right, sorry. The heart of my the heart of my community is centered in more love than I ever could have imagined.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool? Oh my God. And everybody, please like take this out to your own individual communities as well.
Yes. Wow.
Beyond that. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, let's quick clear something from that. Crying, feeling hopeless. That the acceptance of my love would not be taken for granted. Anger. That no one really knows my love as real. I think that's it. I think that's it. I love that's where we ended up.
That's so beautiful.
It is. It's so great.
I relate to that one especially much.
And you know what's really cool too is that we kind of came back around again because we talked about love a little with the Valentine's thing. Like I started off kind of talking about that. And I talked about how I preferred centered to grounded.
Yeah.
Hit on some of it. That's really cool. I love it when that happens.
I do too, because
Very
it's the
in the
stuff that
flow.
you could never plan, right? You could never like
No,
have planned this. It just like comes together that way, and you're like, "Pfft," you
no.
know, it's
Yeah.
genius. The universe is genius. We would
Yeah.
never, we would never even be able to see it all. I think, and all we can do is
Oh,
get little like glimpses of it and try to appreciate what we have.
for sure. Little bits of the flow.
Oh my gosh. So I am so grateful to all of the work that you do and that you can do and that you have done and that you will keep doing, and all of the people here I know are also very grateful and have been saying it all chat long, how much they appreciate you and what you're doing and how right on it is and how just excellent it is. So thank you so much. And I do want people to be able to connect with you further. People have already asked, if you have a site, and I didn't put it in the
Absolutely.
show notes yet, but I will when we're done with this. But remind us what that is and what you
So,
offer and what people can do and all of it.
right. So my website is emilyatwoodenergy.com. You can contact me directly through there. There's a contact page and form thingy. And what I offer is sessions over the phone. I like to do them over the phone specifically because it's a lot of times we're talking about stuff that's can be kind of intense, and I do my best to keep everything really light, even if we're digging into icky stuff. You know, we'll have fun digging up the demons. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing about this. Like, it's freeing. It should feel freeing. So a lot of what we're pulling up is, ugly. It's not fun. So we're looking at trying to keep it as light as possible and not dwell in it any longer than we have to. But yeah, so I do, sort of, usually it seems like we end up going around about an hour and a half, because I won't leave you with something open. So we have to make sure it's finished up.
You're
And
like, terror. Okay, I gotta go. Talk to you later.
yeah, right. Right. And that's what I always tell my husband, who he's like, yeah, sure, you'll be on the phone for an hour. Sure you will. But I'm always like, I can't just be like, okay, well, time's up. It doesn't work like that. So I basically charge about $1 a minute. And I always muscle test for that. So it usually is, it works out fair on that. And let's see, anything else I can add? I don't know. We can work on things you want to develop, and we can work on things you need to get rid of. Kind of anything goes.
That's awesome.
Weird family stuff, patterns you see yourself. Lots of people see their patterns.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and lots of people see those things that they're like, yeah, I mean, patterns, I guess is the best way to describe it.
yeah,
Those things that they're like,
right.
man, why does this keep coming up? Or why does this keep happening?
Mhm.
And it's excellent. That's exactly like the message that's directing you to, seek the healing,
For sure.
get the help, do the
Yep.
things. You can do all the things.
Yep. And part of my message too is that this work can be done by anybody. And like we said already, that acknowledging it and recognizing how you're feeling is really a huge part of doing this work. But sometimes it's just really hard to see for yourself sometimes. And I have people I call when I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And, so it's a good place to go. If you're stuck on something, we can see what we can find.
And it's funny because I don't know if people like realize how much transformation they can experience from, doing this type of work, but like your whole life can transform when you dive into some of
Everything.
these things. And so it's
Yes.
really I mean, like we said, our community, our society, our larger community has a huge problem with spirituality, and this has been ongoing for a long time, that we've been very disconnected, and we've been disconnected at our root, and we've been disconnected at our crown, both, and in the center, and sometimes all over the place, but like we don't have our traditions a lot of times, and we don't have our connection to our sort of higher self, or our like gods, or whatever you want. I don't care what words you use, but just that spiritual aspect of life. And so a lot of times it's like these types of things, when we dive in and get this type of help and this type of work done, is why it's so transformative, is because it's like exactly what our whole entire society is missing, and especially each of us individually. Not that people out there, and especially in this community, aren't very spiritual or very, experienced in various ways, but like you said, even you go to people when you get stuck or when you need something. So it's just, I just think some people can underestimate or undervalue this type of work because of all of those things. So I know this community is the least likely to undervalue it, and especially after getting to work with you here today in such a special way.
Well, and since we are on the topic of love, really doing this work is such an act of love for yourself, for your family, for the whole world, because every time, as we saw several times today, how interconnected we are, the work you do on yourself and for yourself, it has ripple effects to everybody, and everybody feels it when you grow and change and get rid of stuff. People around you feel it.
Yes.
So, it's very worth it.
You're saving all of yourself, and you're saving all of the world. You're a superhero, really.
Right. Save the world.
So
do your energy work.
Yes. So Emily, what are your final thoughts that you want to leave people with, or final messages or final ideas?
Well, I kind of feel like that was it.
I keep doing that lately.
The act of love was good.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I keep doing that. I'm like, so what do you think is good? And people are like, I just said it. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
It just magically came out.
It's perfect. Well, thank you for that. It is a beautiful message. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. And this has been your analog electric concentric dose of wisdom, according to the amazing energy worker, Emily Atwood. Emily, thank you so much for all that you've done for us here today and always. And
thank you.
Tearing down the barriers and gates is righteous work. The difficulty in breaking through walls built up over millennia and carried down through our genetic memory and into the here and now is sometimes daunting. We've gathered so much anger and sorrow along the way. Luckily, our anger fuels a fire that burns scathing hot, and our sorrow freezes a density that rips with glacial pressure. And we can channel both our fire and our ice into white-hot and cold-piercing swords with which to cut away all that no longer serves us, in order to unveil the truth of our soul and all its power right here, right now. And until you free the sparkling seeds of the infinite from under all that weight, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Motherfucker unknown. Yeah, come on. In the place with my fist up, meaning I resist the bullshit that they feed us and lead us. This is just a part of the process, man. Just watch this, cause this shit's about to get crazy like a mosh pit. We lost it, toss it, let's start it again. Cause now with technology, with smarter men and women, this is the beginning, not the end. If this is the message of hope that I send, look on your TV, it's a culture of death. They'll keep on lying to the very last breath. We keep on striving and spreading the truth. It's hard to survive in this world for the youth. The door is closed, the old world is dead. Let's have an age of understanding instead. I'll include you and you include me. Let's see what we can build with some positivity. Let's go. You're moving too slow. Let me see your hands if you know what I know. Come on.
Rap like mummy, ain't no dummy in my rhyming. Started flowing freestyling, now they rhyming loud silence. On with the violence, bodies piling with the gray-bearded pirate. On your TV in 4K 3D virtual reality. Casualty of urban warfare. I know but I'm not scared, just prepared and aware. Shining my light through the tunnel of hope. Into the rope, but I'ma give it one more pull. Till the family is full. Take the bull by the horns and lead it to the slaughter. That would be harder and you would be softer. Sometimes I'm a monster and you forever imposter. With just champagne and lobster. This royalty, the way it was supposed to be. Hopefully the new door opens and the old one closes. With way more focus and growth to mold us. And the truth that they should have told us.
To them screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rulers that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha. Cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet. Everyone got a gift, everyone got a light. They want you to forget that ish, cause they can't dim the bright. The positive vibration takes you past the sign shackles. From the sewers and the alleys in the moving castles. Who these assholes really serving with an exposed Achilles surgeon around the corner lurking to prove ascension trumps perversion. Learn them to catch fish and unplug the signal. Show them the simpletons now build the fucking temples.